In this case study, we are going to be installing SSL certificates for the Eventive application we deployed a couple of videos back. In the real world, when you acquire an SSL certificate from one of the popular certificate authorities, you're going to be provided with something very similar to this: a full chain.pem file, which is the actual certificate, and a privkey.pem file, which is the private key for your certificate. So the first thing you do when you get these files is to copy these files over to your server. We can securely copy these files over to our server using the secure copy protocol, which is based on SSL. Before copying the files, I'm going to SSH into the server as the root user to make sure that the folders we need on the server are available. SSH root at Eventive. So this is the IP address for the Eventive server. Next, I'm going to cd into the /etc/nginx folder, and I'm going to make a folder called SSL, and this is where we are going to store our certificates. I'm going to exit out of the server and then use scp to copy the certificate and private key to my server. So first, I have to provide a link to the file locally. This is in my downloads folder since I just downloaded it, and it's the fullchain.pem. And next, I have to provide authentication details for the server I want to copy it over to. So this is going to be root at the IP address of the Eventive folder. And finally, I have to provide the path on the folder where this file should be saved. And this is going to be /etc/nginx/ssl/fullchain.pem. Okay, that's copied. Let's do exactly the same thing for the priv key. Now that we've copied both files to the server, let's SSH into the Eventive server as the deploy user to make sure that these files were copied and to modify Nginx configurations. Okay, I'll cd into the /etc/nginx/ssl folder and run ls. And just as expected, we have our fullchain.pem and privkey.pem files. Now we are going to visit the sites available folder, and in here we want to modify the Eventive backend configuration. So sudo nano Eventive backend. To secure an Nginx site with SSL, there's a couple of steps we need to take. First, we'll change the listening port to 443 SSL HTTP2. And that way we are using HTTP2, which is a faster and more secure protocol, and we are also listening on port 443 instead of port 80. Next, we need to provide the SSL certificate, and we'll do that with the SSL certificate directive, and we'll pass in a path to the certificate file. And we also need to provide the certificate key, and this is going to be the priv key file. That's almost all we need. Right now, with this configuration, we won't be able to receive incoming HTTP requests, but only HTTPS requests. So what we want to do is redirect all incoming HTTP traffic to HTTPS traffic. That way our site is always secure and the user does not experience any issues when trying to visit the insecure version. So I'll declare another server block, and this one is going to listen on port 80. We'll declare the server name, and we are going to return a redirect. So when the user visits Eventive backend.deploy.node.js.com from an insecure protocol, we are going to redirect the user to the HTTPS version, which is handled by this other server block. Okay, let's save that, restart Nginx or reload Nginx. And now let's visit the Eventive backend, which we just modified, to see what happens. Refreshing automatically redirects us to the HTTPS website because that's the role that we placed in the configuration file. And you can see the SSL certificate is valid, and since we're using the wildcard certificate, that's why we have a star right here. Everything looks great. Now we are going to do the same thing with the front end, but I want to do something different. I want to show you how you can use Certbot to acquire an SSL certificate for a domain. So this is in case you're not using a wildcard certificate or downloading it from a certificate authority directly. So the first thing we need to do is install Certbot. Certbot is kind of a CLI interface to communicate with the Let's Encrypt servers to issue certificates. So first, we are going to install the Certbot repository, run an update. Next, we'll install Certbot for Nginx. That way we can directly interact with Nginx and Certbot. And once that installation is done, we can run Certbot to confirm it's active. Okay, it looks like we have it. Now we are going to run sudo certbot --nginx and provide the domain. And the domain in this case is Eventive frontend.deploy.node.js. The Nginx flag is going to automatically locate the Nginx configuration file and modify it with the newly acquired certificate. Let's hit enter and see the results. First, we need to provide our email. I'm just going to provide a test email and I'm going to agree to the terms of service. I wouldn't share my email address. It's waiting for verification, asking us if we want to force a redirect from HTTP to HTTPS, and this is almost always what we want to do. And it looks like the certificate was successfully generated. Now, let's visit the client app. If we refresh, we are automatically redirected to the secure version of the website. And if you inspect the certificate, you realize it's a certificate for eventive.frontend.deploy.node.js.com. Okay, so how did this happen? Let's check out the configuration file for Eventive frontend and see the changes. cd/etc/nginx/sites available, and we are going to sudo cat eventive frontend. And let's look at this configuration file. There's a lot of changes. So the Certbot, after acquiring the SSL certificate, automatically updates the configuration with some new parameters. First, it activates port 443 instead of port 80. Next, it provides a link to the SSL certificate and the SSL certificate key, just like we did with the wildcard certificate. Next, it added a new block that listens to port 80 and forces a redirect to HTTPS. So it's basically what we did, but now it's automated and the certificate is issued on the fly. Now, please, if you're following along, do not try to acquire an SSL certificate for deploying Node.js.com because there's a limit to how many certificates can be issued for a specific domain over a specific amount of time. This is just for demonstration purposes so that when you have a real world scenario at your hands and you are not provided the SSL certificate, then you have to use maybe something like Certbot to issue the certificate. Okay, that's it. See you in the next one.